and the Bootleg Racing League welcome you to the Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, as it's time to race at the Paperclip. It's iRacing's virtual Martinsville Speedway for the 9th race of Season 17, the series' history. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is John Hine with our producer Trevor Greenfield as we get ready to go racing under the lights and what's expected to be a very difficult but very exciting night of racing, John.
Absolutely. This is mash the gas, hit the brake kind of thing. Two tight turns on both ends of the track, and a little bit of a challenge for these guys here tonight. You know, you're going to get a chance to outbrake guys going into the corner, that kind of thing. So I expect the action to be very interesting tonight.
Keep in mind the track conditions you see on screen here. 65 degrees is the air temperature. That is the lowest average the sim can read. 69 degrees Fahrenheit the track temperature. Very cool conditions on iRacing Day, May 15, 2022. In sim time for the green, about 10 p.m. tonight. All that taking place within a racetrack that's 0.526 miles with 800-foot long straightaways and 588-foot turns around this paperclip-shaped facility. But let's talk about the point standings, because that is one of the more prevalent discussion points of the night. 3 drivers still have a mathematical chance entering tonight. Austin Belke needs a lot to happen to keep that chance after tonight. It's been Kenny Kibbe and Justin Morton who've been the class of the field for the championship this season. 308 points for Kenny Kibbe, 14 points back is Justin Morton, 2 wins apiece, John.
Absolutely, and you know, now you got two different agendas tonight. Is the season's winding down here. Kenny's looking to have good solid nights, good points nights, finish as far up as you can, try to avoid trouble. Justin's got to push. He's got to make that distance up, and in BRL, I can tell you, making points up is not the easiest thing to do. Losing them is a whole heck of a lot easier than gaining them, and Justin's going to have to push to close that gap before we wrap this season up.
And keep in mind, throughout the season, there have been plenty of drivers who have made starts this campaign, 30 total throughout the season. Several of the air battles that we have to keep an eye on. Matthew Thunhorse looking to close out the top 4 for sure over Michael Goodman. Donnie Moore is battling for the top 8 in the standings with James Lowe, who picked up a victory earlier tonight in the Tord Modifieds. And it's worth noting the driver who is 30th in the standings with 1 start, Lowell Jewell, is planning to race tonight. He is currently in the bottom part of the practice chart. See on the pylon 17th respectively. So plenty of competitors looking to finish things off strong. 3 races to go, and Memorial Day weekend coming up next weekend to give these drivers a bit of a break before they head to the final 2 rounds. As these cars continue to zoom around the track, let's talk about the practice in its final warm-up times. Michael Goodman is at the top of the session, and he's coming off high, John, from a podium finish last time out. His first career podium in the BRL, his 28 car, top of the board in final practice.
Yeah, and that's a nice boost, too, for a driver. When you look up there and you know you've got pace, everything else, and, you know, you got to temper it depending on where he starts in this feature here tonight. You know, you want to be excited, but if you're buried back there, you got to be patient and don't use your car up and work your way to the front.
Justin Morton, Jason Menda, James Lowe, Matthew Thunhorse, the top 5 in practice. Kenny Kibbe rounds up the top 6. All of them covered by about 0.5 of a second on the practice sheets. Before we get rolling for tonight, quickly take the time to remind you that this series is brought to you by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the BRL. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street, or give them a call at 720-707-6178. Followed along with the TDR machine of Morton for the final few moments of warm-up. John, these drivers, they've had a long battle throughout the campaign. Who do you feel this track fits the best at, based on their track records, in your opinion?
Oh, I think Kenny. Kenny's always been really strong here, and so has, I mean, these are the same usual suspects. You just talked about it in the points, and Justin both. You know, for a dark horse, though, you know, he won the modified race a little bit earlier tonight. You know, I keep an eye out for James Lowe and, you know, the old wily veteran, Donnie Moore. I think those guys have so many laps here in so many different cars. They know this track like the back of their hand. They know how to get around here. I think those are the guys probably to watch here tonight.
Both of them have had good performances in the past at this racetrack. We'll see if that rings true this evening in the Super Late Models As practice is coming to a close, 19 drivers have come to the paperclip tonight. Will be able to conquer the half-mile mayhem? Well, to find out, as it's time to look at how they'll start with the inversion grid for tonight. It's a full attendance for amongst the top 7 or 8 in the inversion spots tonight. James Lowe, he's the points, one of the top drivers on the pylon, should say. He'll start from the pole today. Joseph Snyder and Donnie Moore, along with Justin Moore in the top 4. Matthew Thudhorst, Michael Goodman, the top 6. Ruben Altis and Kenny Kibbe round out the top 8. Then it's Michael Smith and Adam Shane, your top 10, John.
Yeah, starting 11th in the 45 is going to be Jason Menda. To his outside will be the 87 of Todd Liston. Starting 13th will be the 44 of Jeff Harden, and then 14th to his outside is going to be the 81 of Joe Segala. In the next row there, starting in the 15th position, piloting the number 55 machine will be Mr. Steven Spees. Next to him will be the number 2 of Mike Holloway. Starting 17th on the field here tonight will be Kurt Smith. To his outside, the boss man, it's going to be Lowell Jewell. And rounding out the field here, Austin Belke is going to start out back in his number 24, DuPont Chevrolet.
Let's look top to bottom at the running order for here for tonight's action at Martinsville Speedway. And the interesting thing when it comes to Belke's situation, and this may be something to possibly discuss, he was 6th last time out. He did not get the luck of the inversion spot tonight, John, for some reason.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him back here, but it'll be interesting. Austin's a strong driver. He's going to have to be patient and pick his way through. It'll be fun to watch his progress over the 100 laps here tonight.
Keys to victory.
Patience. You don't want to overdrive the corners, use your tires up. We know here in BRL you cannot change tires, so that's going to be the big thing. And then you got to be patient coming out of the corners. If you gas it up too quick, that back end will step around on you, and next thing you know, you'll be pointed to the inside wall.
Tonight should be a fun one for Martinsville Speedway and iRacing, the Augusta National of Racetracks, a facility open since 1947 in Ridgeway, Virginia. It's time to get racing. iRacing pace car is off. Low in control of the pack. Snyder on the outside. Green flag is out. We're underway for the paperclip. And we're already up to disaster. Donnie Moore struggles to get going. Already Matthew Thunhorst with damage. And the Pokemon-themed car already up to 4th with the stack up.
Yeah, I don't know if Donnie spun his tires or what there, but that's complete disaster for him. He had a great starting spot. Now he's in the back.
Thunhorst avoiding significant damage to the front nose. Everyone getting slippery and slidey, though, despite the cooler conditions in the back of the pack. At the front of the field, Lowe looking to check out early. Snyder already 4/10 back.
Absolutely, and their tires should now be just coming up to temperature, so now they're going to be able to get a little more aggressive into these corners and be able to pick the throttle up a little bit sooner. So we're going to start to see guys come and go as they work these laps.
See Morton up to 3rd off the jump, the biggest mover in the opening laps. Austin Belke up 5 spots. Some of the drivers, keep in mind, in the backpack, they struggled, it seemed, some of them, to figure out where the wall lines would be, to make sure they didn't hit the wall. Belke having a check up in that pack. Joe Segala takes advantage, and this is a major trouble spot. You get too tight, you possibly lose tons of time.
Yeah, they don't look like there's a lot of banking there in the corners, but believe it or not, there is some. And when you come out of that corner, if you gas it up too quick where the transition for the corner to the straightaway, that back end will snap on you fast. And that's looks like what happened to Austin there coming out of the corner.
He was also very slow coming out of 4 initially. Now his front nose has got a little bit of a wrinkle to it. We'll see if that impacts the 24. Already nearly to the back of the pack. Donnie Moore already hooking on to Todd Liston. Lil Drew gives him space. Meanwhile, for Morton, he still tries to fight it out with Thunhorst, looking to try and pass them all again.
Yeah, this is a great battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th. They're right under a blanket here, and one small mistake, you could go from sitting there in that 2nd position all the way back to 5th real quick.
This is the 2nd time Mr. Eevee, as he's now become called with the original Pokemon scheme a few weeks ago, that he's running this type of a theme when it comes to that 8 machine. This time, he's made it blue.
Well, most athletes are superstitious, so I'm going to assume if he had a good run with that car, he's going to keep that paint on there. We got a battle for 2nd here. Justin Morton looking to his inside as we get to turn 3.
Owen Morton pushes Snyder up the racetrack. Here comes Mr. EV. He rubs the side door of Snyder, trying to rub the numbers off the 39. He drifts his way into the entry, just about clears off a 2.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to have the advantage here through 3 and 4, and it's going to push Snyder back to 3rd. Like I said, one small mistake, and you're going to go back here, lose a couple spots, and it's exactly what happened to Snyder. And behind them, Kenny Kibbe is to the inside, and Kenny's watching, trying to keep Morton in sight here. He doesn't want too many cars to get between him and Morton here because, the points, they'll close up in a gap, or a hurry if they do that.
Kenny Kibbe up 3 positions, still a ways ahead to be able to get up to Morton. Right now, Morton, a +3. Turns those positions to swing points his direction. Following the Muskegon, Michigan-based driver, you see some of the time differences with Snyder starting to lean towards Kibbe's direction now that he's got some clean space here.
Yeah, I believe Kenny will probably run him down in probably about 3 or 4 laps here. He is turning a little bit quicker laps, but we got a battle for second also. Looked like Thunhorse was taking a look to the inside of Morton through 1 and 2, and they continue to just kind of follow each other now in 3 and 4.
Remember, when it comes to Matthew Thunhorst, a part-time schedule this season, he is tied for the most victories this season in 2. Behind them, Todd Liston dropped to 19th and is already possibly a factor in lap traffic. Liston, we mentioned, was amongst those struggling to try and get the car rotating in practice.
Yeah, he had a little bit of trouble the previous lap coming out of 4 and ended up down by the inside wall. My guess is he probably broke that car loose, and that's going to put him right out in front of our leaders here. And I'm sure that Todd will sees them, knows they're coming, and will move up out of the way when they get there.
Here's a look at what happened, and you see exactly that curbing, and that's always a trouble spot. If you get too hard into the curves, you're going around. Looking at the battle for the race lead, James Lowe, he was leading by as much as 0.6 of a second 5 laps ago. Not so much now, as Todd Liston is within 5 car lengths in front. Dirty air being fed by the lap traffic. Morton and Thunhorst looking to pounce.
Yeah, they sure are. They're 1, 2, 3, nose to tail as they go into turn 3, and work by Todd Liston, who moves up high and lets these guys by. But now the race is on here for the lead between these top 3.
And for Morton, it's very prevalent. His need to make a move here. Of note, Donnie Moore in front of them has just entered the pit lane. It is in the midst of going a full pace into his stall and passing his stall. So Morton, or should say, may be done. Speaking of Morton, now within 2/10, closes it up to a half a car length through 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's being real patient here and just trying to figure out where he can get a run on the low here. And I expect the pass probably to come, to the inside, probably entering a corner here before too long.
All this is while Kibbe is trying to make a move as well for 4th position. And if Kibbe gets by that 39 without using too much tire wear, that may make things even more of a powder keg up at the head of the pack. 81 to go already. Lowe continues to lead up at the head of the field.
And Kenny is to the inside of the 39 there, Joseph Snyder, through 1 and 2, so he is going to get the spot from him eventually now.
The country pleasing sausage machine goes hard in the brakes, off the concrete to the asphalt, missing the corner. Here comes Ruben Altis looking for a race-high 5th.
Yeah, he overdrove that corner, and he's lucky to hang on to that spot. It looks like he's going to hold off Altis for now. But Kenny Kibbe, that's a big story here. He's moved up another spot, and we got a side-by-side race for second.
That's up the road, yes indeed, after the pass on Liston earlier. Morton to the inside, Thunhorst on the outside, trying to squeeze the 9. Can he make the outside line work is the question. That could be a tricky answer to have. The bottom line always prevalent of the paperclip.
Yeah, and what's really bad about this is Morton is really having to work that wheel to keep that car from drifting up, and that is eating up his tires on the bottom here. So hopefully this doesn't, for him, doesn't last too long as he starts to pull ahead down the backstretch.
Thunhorst gives up the ghost. Thunhorst tucks back in line. Lowe gains about a car length and a half buffer as a result of all the fighting. Of note, Michael Goodman is currently in the final inversion spot, currently in 8th position. For those keeping track of the pylon, Jason Menda, one-time race winner this season, is right behind him in the pack. Here's a look at that battle going on with Altis just in front of Goodman, in fact. This is again now for 6th, and Altis puts himself in the wall, squeezing Shane with them. Goodman dodges as the caution is out. Well, that escalated quickly.
Very quickly.
And Ruben Altis having some technical issues, looks like, with the wheel. That's how hard the contact was. You could see that coming, though, with how tight the squeeze was. Coming down the front straightaway at the flag stand to Barney.
Yeah, those guys did not give each other any room there, and you know, that's what can happen here. And you know, Altis definitely got the worst end of it, and he's gonna definitely have to come in and get his quick repair, and then go back to work.
Jason Menden nearly drove himself right into the front bumper of Altis during all that, by the way. And here's a look in particular on board with the 11. See how much wheel work he had to put in. And then when he has to get going, this is where we've seen the wheels starting to struggle a bit to be able to rotate all the way over top by about 800 degrees.
That's a result of a really, really hard hit. But you know, like I said, luckily in Bootleg Racing, we have a fast repair, so they'll be able to come in, reset the car. They'll still be on the same tires, but they'll be able to reset the car, get rid of all that damage, and hope now he's going to have to work his way back through the pack.
Seeing Jason Menda trying to go to the bottom initially to guess to avoid, just avoided hitting the front of an Altis car that could have lost him his track position, and just stays out of the trouble, and we're under caution. Altis taking the fast repair, possibly here. Everybody else staying on the racetrack here. What's been an intriguing start to tonight. Speaking of championship battles, though, we mentioned throughout the season there are 2 different series going on amongst the various weeks, where it rotates off and on, where you have Classic Cup and Inner Series. The Classic Cup Series, Security champion J.R. Shepard added another BRL trophy to his case.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to put a whole nother wing onto his house to fit all those trophies in. But congratulations to JR on a great season over there in the old 87 Cup cars. Those are a lot of fun. Anybody that wants to join BRL can come out and go to BRL bootlegracingleague.com and you know, sign up and come out and have some fun with them.
That series rotates with the street stocks this season. For reference, those drivers approaching the final few weeks of their season in the coming weeks. But another series is getting ready to get underway, and you know plenty about it. It's a series Taylor and I discussed a little bit last time out, the National Sprint Car Trail. John, you're one of the main people involving with that, along with Old Jewel. Talk us through it.
Well, it's modeled after the old school USAC back in the 60s, you know, when AJ Foyt and those guys all were dominant. And you're going to see the Silver Crown cars one week, the asphalt sprint cars the next, then the dirt 360 non-wings along with the midgets. And it's going to rotate throughout the season. Man, I tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to give everybody in different disciplines a chance to shine. And I expect an ultra competitive series, and it will really test the driver's skill throughout the year.
Expecting a lot of fun when that series gets underway. Currently projected to be the fall winter time. Friday night, qualified 10:40 p.m. Currently the projected starting time. Speaking of starts, 70 laps to go. James Lowe off and away. Shane all over the place in row 3 on back as Jason Menda visits the very top line.
Yeah, he overdrove the corner a little bit. He's kind of recovered now and back into it, but he's going to be stuck on the outside as they enter 3.
Also stuck on the outside, Justin Morden. Thunhorst on the inside. This was a struggle spot for the 8 in some of the races coming into tonight. But it's Thunhorst up to P2. Kibbe looking for a valuable P3.
And those are your 2-point leaders there. So there's a lot on the line for that 3rd and 4th position.
Kibbe get by easy. Morden trying to make it difficult. Later on the brakes for Kibbe, though. Kibbe is clear. Kibbe up 5 spots to 3rd. Battle for the lead is on. Thunhorst in the shadows of the 99's back bumper.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to watch this unfold over the next few laps. These guys are going to start pushing harder and harder as the intensity goes up, the closer we get to the end of the race.
You've seen from that rear view camera from low how close these drivers are to the limits in the first place. Set up for tonight, very close to bottoming out on that very edge of the valence. Watch the braking zone here, for example. See how much is chattering in turns 1 and 2 at the left front corner.
Absolutely, and these guys feel that too in the steering wheels and whatnot, because a lot of them have force feedback and stuff like that. So, he's looking to the inside. Thunderhorse looks to the inside of low, but tucks it back into the line there as they go into one.
Thunderhorse nearly used the right front corner of that front end to try and shatter low out of his line. Not able to do so quite yet with 64 to go this time around. The laps sit by quickly here. Keep in mind 20 seconds apiece. On average, 19 seconds for the quickest drivers. The top 3 all covered under a blanket. Morton is losing ground and fast to these cars too.
Yeah, he is. The top 3 have kind of broken away a little bit here. And like I said, we're 37. They can be a little bit patient here, but that sense of urgency is going to start picking up probably in about 20, 25 laps. And then I think you're going to see guys really trying to push the issue, not just with those top 3, but throughout the field.
Snyder behind him, Goodman's in 6th. Jeffrey Harden up 6 spots to 7th. Also Spees just outside the inversion spot behind Shane. Time for second biggest mover, Spees. Speaking to the battle for the lead though, Thunhorse getting squeezed up at the head of the field by Lowe, side by side down the backstretch. Lowe doesn't want to give this up. Thunhorse squeezed to the edge of the curbing for the race lead. He gets it.
And Kibby's going to try to follow him right on through into second place here as he's already to the inside of Lowe as they go into turn 1.
Kibby looking to clear by quickly and does. Lowe drops back to 3rd. It's now Thunhorst and Kibby. Once again, on the prowl for the race lead. Where have we seen this show before?
Absolutely. These guys have battled quite often through the past year, so they know each other well. They know each other's tendencies, and sometimes that can work for you, sometimes that can work against you. It all depends on where you're at on the racetrack.
Right now, about half a track advantage to the driver, 18th and Lowell Jewell. Kibby rubs the wall though. That's continuing to be a possible threat to some. Scraping that wall in the middle of the straightaway by going too high to try and get that arc in.
Yeah, but I don't think that scrape that he had there's going to bother Kibby too much here. But now we're going to be interesting. And Lowell or Thunhorse has got a little bit of a gap here, and we'll see if he can continue to stretch it.
3/10 that gap, currently approaching the halfway mark of this race. Just the one caution so far for reference. They look to set the pace for the time being. Meanwhile, it's bumper to bumper still in the Morton on backpack. That's 4th all the way back to 11th position on the racetrack. And those drivers are within about half a car length apiece at most.
Yeah, they are. And, Morton's in a better position because he doesn't have anybody in front of him. But you take a guy who's like in the middle of that pack, like, like a Spees, you've got to worry about checkups and whatnot. So you really got to be in mind trying to be aggressive, but also worry about a stack up in front of you.
Spees still riding in the 9th position. It's been an up and down season for the Lee Summit base driver. We talked about this in the past. His normal tendencies usually point towards him. He's stronger in the dirt. That's where his background is on the platform. This season, the super late models, it's been an up and down time for him around the invert spots.
Yeah, and Steven's a teammate of mine, so I know him quite well. And I'll tell you, he's a very patient driver, very smart driver. And I think on the asphalt side, he missed that corner a little bit. But on the asphalt side of things, I think he races really, really well. So when he misses a show, he's able to come up through the pack and always seems to move forward, though.
The reason he had that drift, by the way, Adam Shane, he nearly ran over the back end of Harden, then had to really back it down in the middle of the straightaway, opened up the door on the outside. This is what happened by turn 1.
Yeah, and that's that checkup I told you about, being in the middle of the pack there, where Morton's out front, doesn't have anybody in him, and Spees is back in there. So if there's trouble in front of him, he's got to be ready to make, evasive action. And because he's got someone behind him, make sure that he doesn't get run over in the process too.
Towards the halfway mark, a couple laps from now, Thunhorse still the Pied Piper for the pack. 10 laps led, coming to his 11th lap led on the trot so far tonight. These two have broken away from Lowe by more than a second. Lowe is another second up the road from Morton himself.
I do think Morton is kind of closing in a little bit on Lowe here, and that would be if he can continue to do that and get that spot, you know, that's going to help his cause towards a championship. That'll put him behind Kenny. He'll still lose points, but he's not going to lose, you know, as many points. Now, if Kenny takes that lead, man, that's going to be a big issue for the Morton going forward as far as the championship's concerned.
You've seen that difference in the interval, though, only going down by a couple 100 so far. Over the past 5 laps, Morton has now broken the draft of Snyder within that 1 second here with the paperclip. The tempo starting to really set itself in. Goodman still trying to sort his way back around the 39. Hardin and Shane also in this pack. Speeds with his mistakes earlier, the first driver out of the inversion spots. Here's a look from Hardin from Bakersfield, California. And a solid run for the 44 so far tonight, keeping it clean, just waiting for the opportunities to come his direction.
Yeah, when you get a long green flag run like this, you're behind somebody, your lap times are almost identical. That's what you really got to, you know, try to do is maybe get close to that guy's bumper, maybe play a little peekaboo in his mirror, get him to maybe overdrive that corner where you can stick that nose and get under him. But other than that, I mean, that's really your only play. You know, the outside, we saw Thunhorse try to make a move out to the outside, and he could not make it stick. And he's the only one that we've seen go up high and try that.
And it took, even then, about 5-6 laps before Thunhorse backed it down, settled back into the bottom before he got the job done after a restart. Speaking of the job being put on from Kenny Kibbe, he's closed it up to a half a car length in the middle of the apexes now. Kibbe wants to go, but it's not easy for him to set this up right now. That's the critical thing, John.
Absolutely. The best thing that Kenny can do is keep that pressure on him, keep Thunhorse pushing into the corners, maybe using those tires up. Kenny can maybe conserve a little bit as far as wear goes, and maybe towards the closing laps be able to put that to use. But as long as he's pushing that increases the odds of Thunhorse making a mistake. He doesn't make a lot of them, but at least it does increase the odds a little.
It's going to be a battle likely stretching the rest of the way amongst these two, knowing the track record amongst them. By the way, Snyder has dropped back to 8th position. Things are heating up, where Snyder was in the top 5 just a few laps ago. Shane passed on by him, Hardin and Goodman as well. That swapped around in that second grouping of cars. Lowe and Morton have started to group together as well with the racetrack. Let's take a look at the pylon, and you can see the differences around the racetrack. Top 12 separated by 7 seconds.
Yeah, in the case of Joseph Snyder, you know, it's funny in racing when you might lose a spot, lose a couple spots, make a mistake, and all of a sudden you're almost like a boat taking on water. It just continues to compound and, you know, fill up and fill up and fill up, and it's tough to get that focus back and you know, just get back to what you need to be doing and continue to move forward, back forward.
What are some of the tricks, essentially, to be able to turn things around and get the flex tape, so to speak, to be able to tape up the hole in the boat?
Well, you need to take a breath. You know, you got to look down. You got 40 laps to go. You know, just take a deep breath and just concentrate on the track. Stop worrying about the guys around you and race the track for a little bit. You know, the easiest way to make a mistake is trying to race the guys around you. You see that guy in front of you, you try to drive up, you're starting to catch him. The next thing you know, you're starting to overdrive the corner. And then you make a mistake and might get into the wall or something outside the corner. If you're trying to stay ahead and fighting for that guy behind you, same thing. You might overdrive the corner. Just drive the track. Don't worry about anybody else. I think that's probably about the easiest way to kind of reset yourself. And you'll find that you go a lot faster when you do that too.
By the way, Shane picking up more and more time on the 39 machine. Speeds back within a second of Snyder on the racetrack as a result of some of the slipping back moments for him in this race. Speaking of slipping back, Austin Belke, we talked about how, based on the initial inversion spots, in theory would have been top 6 after last night, which would have put him, or last week should say, what would have put the 24 into danger now with Menda. Menda runs into the wall. Bulky sends in the pit lane. Wow.
Boy, that happened fast. I'm sure that was a Code Brown moment in Austin's car there. Probably saw that happen, and boy, he did a good job of not making that a heck of a lot worse. But I do believe that he's back there. I'm going to bet that he must have gotten some kind of penalty and got an EOL, and that's why he was back there.
Here's a look at the replay, and here's the point I was trying to make. He was the last driver to join this session tonight. What happens if you don't join during the warm-up? You lose your qualifying spot set for the server. So that may have been, in part, what put Balky in the spot to run over Menda after the major slide there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see from Belky's case there, if that, because they did make significant contact there, if there's going to be any damage and kind of prohibit him from continuing to try to move forward here.
Really struggling with the damage. Under 33 laps to go, 2/3 of the race complete. You see moments ago, things getting tight. Bulky really over.
Yeah, he's having a hard time turning that car now. I'm watching him on both ends of the track, and that nose of that car is definitely pushing at this point.
That nose completely crumpled up in some parts, absolutely. It's a different path motorsports machine, pending luck. Maybe out of contention for the championship after tonight as a result of the escalating snowball effects. Speaking of things escalating, the battle for the lead. It's escalating yet again. Thunhorse extended the gap to about a car length advantage. Gibby again has reeled it back in like a fishing rod, but traffic is ahead. Michael Smith, Lil Jewel within range.
Yeah, we're working lap number 70 now. That pay window is open. Now that sense of urgency, you got to go. If Kenny's got anything for Thunhorse, he is going to have to push now to try to make that happen, to set that pass up. That pass may take a couple, 2-3 laps to set up, and then maybe even another couple laps to complete. So he's got to really be pushing the issue here, and maybe he's making a plan here. We do have 2 lap cars that are coming up that are in the same corner they are. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens when they catch them.
Confirmation just received on the clarification with the Bounty case. It was an EOL, John. That put him back there. And this is what happens if you get over-aggressive in a championship fight. You make one mistake in those fights, puts you in the back. You end up having to essentially have a rock-climbing mountain top that you have to try and overcome.
Yeah, and that's a testament to this league too. I mean, there's, no position is, easy. All these guys are really good at running these cars, and the competition's really close. So when you get a penalty like that, man, you almost got to set your goal to try to get back in the inversion. Never mind trying to win or something like that. You just want to try to get as far back forward so you're not in the back for the next week.
Speaking of drivers fighting it out, Lowe and Morden fighting it a little bit further back of the race leaders. Lowe looking for a podium for the first time in a little while. Morden looking to try and maintain the points distance, so to speak, with the number 14. For Morden to do so efficiently and make it a little easier for the next time out, he needs to make the pass here with 25 to go or less.
Yeah, you hear the guys in Formula One, their crew chiefs or whatnot, the race engineers will say, okay, push, push, push. That's what Martin's got to do here. He's got to push and try to get around Lowe for that 3rd spot. And Kenny almost got into the back of James Lowe as they came up on Chris Hazlip in 1 and 2.
That's Michael Smith indeed, yeah. The 73 with a major check. He still stays at the bottom, and Smith spins it. Smith into the wall, no caution, we stay green.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing Chris over in the 73 on the dirt side. I saw that 73 and my mind went to that. But yeah, that was almost disaster for the leaders.
Well, it was disaster for Kibby in terms of how much he'll have to close up now. It went from a 0.2 of a second gap to half a second with the checkup and the inversion that he had to make to the high side to dodge the 73.
Yeah, I'm sure Kenny's not too happy with that, but he's going to have to refocus here and go back and try to get back to that bumper so he can start to push Thunhorse here as these laps continue to wind down.
Next lap car up, the boss man, Lil Jewel. And Lil taking the Dodge Challenger route today. In his paint scheme, will he make a challenge for these race leaders that would merely pinched down that gap. Dirty Air now being fed to the 8.
Yeah, I would expect Lowell to move up out of the way once they get to him. He's pretty good about having awareness and whatnot, what's going on around him. But, you know, Kenny's hoping he does hold him up a little bit, but doesn't. There he goes. He moves up out of the way. But Kenny closes up on Thunhorse through there.
That's going to hold up Kibby more than anything. Side by side with a lap car for the entry. And all the time that Kibby gained with the Dirty Air from Lowell Jewell just went out the window with that side-by-side down the flag stand.
Yeah, he wasn't able to swing out and really open that car up. He had to keep the car down, and yeah, that really cost his momentum.
Under 20 laps to go. James Lowe now gets a bumper car as a result of the traffic as well over Justin Borden by a car length. The gap between the leaders still 4/10. Next pack in front, Ruben Altis, Todd Liston, Mike Holloway. A very quiet night for Holloway in the 2. Those drivers a quarter of the track ahead. Look at the track map. Things getting pretty congested in some parts of the circuit now.
Yeah, you know, like I said, the pay window's open now. You've got to go. So if you got somebody in front of you, you've got to really start pushing.
Mike Holloway, for reference, is that yellow bubble in turn 1. That's right now possibly within about 10 to go. They reach him at the pace they're going. Those cars are the 19.9s on the top ends. About 19.5s for the race leaders, a 10.5 quicker in the battle for third position. 16 to go this time.
Yeah, and Kenny has moved right back up to the near the bumper of Thunhorse. That gap between them continues to shrink lap by lap.
Mr. Evie still holding on at the point. Both drivers nearly knocked the safer barrier down off of 2. Both drivers really sliding it up and tight, trying to hold on to these positions to get it close to each other.
Yeah, Kenny's there at this point, so it's on. These last 14 laps or so are going to be real exciting.
Kibby missed the bottom, though. Is he trying something different with the banking difference? That closes him up a little bit more. Not enough, though, to fully take advantage, though. Thunhorse parks the bus, 14 to go.
Yeah, it almost looks like Thunhorse is better going through 1 and 2, and Kenny is better down in 3 and 4. But Kenny's got to stay with them this time as they exit 2, bumper to bumper, going down the backstretch.
Still within that quarter car length. Kibby bottoms out. Thunhorse keeps it smooth at the bottom, 13 to go. Lap traffic within 10 car lengths of the race leaders now, you see on the track map. Kibby again tries to ramp it off turn 2 with the dip. Hits the carbon instead.
Yeah, almost looks like he was trying to dive in the corner there, go in a little high, and then turn down to get a run going down the hill, down the front straightaway, maybe to get to Thunhorse's inside.
Remember, there's a dip coming out of turn 2, though. It could possibly spin you out if you go too low. Kibby is very close to that dip. 11.5 laps to go now. Still in the bumper. Still trying to go high. Thunhorse now parking at middle, right in the middle of that diamond off line.
Yeah, and lap traffic, they're probably going to catch those lap cars in the next probably lap to lap and a half here. So Kenny's got to be well looking at that and be a little bit mindful of what happened just a few laps ago with the 73 car. He's got to be ready for something like that to happen again.
10 laps to go, this time by at the paperclip. Race 9 of the season for the BRL Super Late Model Series. Kibby trying to find a way around Thunhorse. Thunhorse has led 52 laps straight here tonight. Kibby looking to take the lead for the first time tonight. 9 to go this time. Holloway within 5 car lengths up the track now. Traffic ahead.
Kenny continues to stay right in James's rearview mirror, and James is just doing not James, but Matthew Thunhorse is doing a great job of hitting his marks every lap. Like I said earlier, this is a guy that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and that's holding true right now. He really is hitting his marks every lap.
They have about a 2-second buffer, keep in mind, on James Lowe, half a straightaway on the circuit. Again, Kibby trying to keep it low. Here's a look from on board. See how much wheel he's having to put in some of these corners, actually turning a little bit to the right to try and set it up on some of these entries. Here's the lap traffic. Holloway staying on the bottom. Will that hold up the leaders? Kibby is there. Kibby's on the bumper. He goes for the dive. Backs it up. Stu rides the bumper and turns Thunhorse. Thunhorse slides. Kevy parks it to try and give him the space. Morton says, I'll take the spots. He passes 2 cars. And as a result of the sportsmanship from Kibbe, Morton jumps up to second.
Very good sportsmanship by Kenny, but man, that really cost him big time. Thunhorse is going to continue the lead, but that's going to put Justin Morton in second with James Lowe third now. That's a swing in the points here if this holds serve for the next 5 laps.
Point in a return next time by. Here at the paperclip, Thunhorse. Massive damage on the left front fender. Can he hold on, though, is the question over Morton for 4 more times around.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap there. If he can just kind of continue to hit his marks, you know, Morton may be able to get to him, but getting to him and passing him are 2 very different things.
Michael Goodman is now there as well. A 5-car battle for the race win. As a result, 7/10 still the difference. Morton is not closing despite the damage, shockingly.
No, he's not. And in fact, it looks like that gap is stretching just a little bit.
An interesting wrinkle here. Keep in mind, Morton does pick up points if this holds for the time being. Thunhorse continuing to grow the gap in the 19.6s. Everyone else behind him running the 19.7s. Morton parking the bus with 2 laps to go over Low.
Yeah, these guys had second, third, and fourth just right under a bumper here. And it's, you know, coming down to it. We only got a couple laps here left to go.
White flag coming up this time around. Morton in a comfortable spot. Michael Goodman trying to find a way to get to Kibbe. Can't get up there yet. Thunhorse, 1 second advantage now. Final time around for the paperclip. Low all over the bumper of Morton for the battle for second. He puts him in the wall. Morton's in the wall. Sees him go in the wall behind him and Low. Meanwhile, Thunhorse, after this collision to the inside wall, holds on to win. Second spot, Morton. Low holds on to third despite slamming the wall down the backstretch.
Yeah, Kenny wasn't close enough there to close the gap on him, and he's going to be relegated to fourth after that. Good sportsmanship, but boy, that's going to make you know, we got a break next week. Those last 2 races now between Morton and Kibbe, that gap is tighter now than what it was before we came in.
Well, this got really intriguing with the championship fight now. Thunhorse race and goes his way. Season winner now. Or season leader in victories and wins. And he looks to try and copy the J.R. Shepherd method of celebration before the Polish victory lap. A lot to discuss during the post-race as a result of that. Thunhorse gets to celebrate. Mr. EV wins at Martinsville. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment here on VGN. Welcome back to VGN for tonight's coverage of the Bootleg Racing Super Elite Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. It's time to take a look at the unofficial race results. Keyword unofficial after craziness broke out in the final laps of this one. Thunhorse, after getting bumped into the inside wall off turn 4, he still holds on to the race win of 1 second. The difference between him and Justin Morton, who, after Kenny Kibbe let Third Horse save the car, went and passed 2 cars to move up that spot. Lowe, after riding the backstretch wall in the final lap, holds on in a drag race for the podium with Kenny Kibbe. Michael Goodman, he had the chance to try and take advantage of all this. Instead, he finishes in 5th either way. Adam Shane, after his struggles early, finishes in 6th. Hardin and Snyder round out the inversion spots. Cart Smith, Steven Spies, the top 10.
Yeah, coming home 11th, and he had definitely an up and down night. Is Austin Belkey there? Next after him is going to be Joe Segala and Todd Liston. Ruben Altis will come home 14th, followed by Mike Holloway, Lowell Jewell, Michael Smith, Jason Menda, and rounding out the field tonight is going to be Donnie Moore.
That's all top to monitor the running order here for tonight's action at the Paperclip. And a lot of questions to ask to our podium because everything and then some happened. Mr. Eevee brought back the Pokemon paint scheme. Mr. Eevee still picks up the victory after craziness breaks out. Mr. Eevee, what happened?
Oh, Kenny just, these past couple of weeks, kind of like I mentioned to him, he's been really fast, and I don't know what it is. I kind of, when I do these practice races that Joe has Thursday night, the car feels good and it's just linear, and tonight it just felt a little bit tighter than what it did, and even the tire wear showed that. So I don't know, but I kind of get away from him for a little bit, and because I try something or kind of steal his line a little bit and adjust to him, and he kind of get back to me. And there at the end, we were getting up on, I think it was Holiday and a couple other guys. We were about ready to lap, and he had a run. It's just he never got the spotter call inside, so I kind of ran the protect line because I didn't want to get fainted into running low. And you know, it's just I got stupid tight up there, and it was just a racing deal. He was just killing me through the center with the fact I had burned my right front off, so it was just a racing deal. And you know, it's I hate that he didn't get second at least out of that, you know, because I mean he pulled an extremely classy move with letting me try to gather that back up, and he kind of paid the price for it, which, you know, so as far as I'm concerned, it's a racing deal, no harm, no foul. And you know, it's just that's what happens when you get to the end of these things, when you got a guy that's slower than the guy that's in second place. And you know, it wasn't intentional or anything on his part, but it's just one of those things that happens.
Were you surprised at what happened though afterwards? Because Morton, he ended up passing both James Lowe and Kenny Kibbe from all that, and then seemed to back up a touch, so to speak. The gap was 7/10. It never went smaller than 7/10. What was that like from your perspective, knowing you're driving a wounded car, and then it seems everybody gives you space?
Well, the hilarious thing was, I don't know how bad I put it in the wall with my left front, but first lap I was kind of like, okay, how bad am I hurt? And then all of a sudden I got to the second or third lap and I'm like, wow, that actually loosened the car up. This is driving pretty good now. And I think I was going faster than before the contact. So in a weird kind of turn of events, the car got better.
So the interesting thing in this trend now is you bring back the Pokemon scheme, you win in the Pokemon scheme. Will we see the scheme back after the Memorial Day break?
Nah, this is only kind of a special scheme that I'm going to break out probably once or twice a season. And so it's with Martinsville coming along and this being one of my favorite tracks. That pesky Morton, you know, he didn't let the Pokeball win, so now I had to break out the Great Ball scheme. So a little bit effective capture rate, and so we got all the passes done today.
Oh, that's why it's the blue. The Great Ball. Wow, I forgot there's how many... I've lost track of how many Pokeballs there are. Anybody want to thank for the run to avoid the discussion in the rabbit hole of Pokeballs?
Yeah, Justin, you know, just Lowell and everybody racing tonight. You know, it's a lot of fun doing this BRL, and you know, Gargamel's Kitchens for sponsoring us. Pretty sure we put on a good show for them tonight, so I think they'll be pretty happy with that. And everybody who races, and you know, just all the people that watch. And again, thanks to Kenny. I mean, he could have sat there and just drove through me and all that, and you know, he didn't. He took the classy route, and so a big thanks to him too. So yeah, just thanks to everybody involved, and hope you all enjoyed.
Congratulations on your third victory of the season. You're now the season leader in that mark. Congrats.
Thanks, Justin.
Matthew Thunhorse comes away with a victory tonight. 1 second the gap between him and Justin Morton. Let's get the other half of that story. Now with John is Justin. And flip that around.
Justin, this is John for the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, that old saying, "It's not over till it's over," held true tonight. Walk me through what you saw, and on how you got those 2 spots, and were able to bring it home a second place here tonight.
Yeah, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. That Matt was really sideways, and Kenny was slow, trying to let him get his grip back, basically, and get going again, just to have a great battle to the end. But I saw James go high. I was like, I'm going low, and we'll see where this ends up. And it was free real estate. I went right to the front. In second, I definitely was not the second quickest car on the track that night or tonight. But I'll take the second place after that.
Well, that second place is really going to help you in the points. How often through the night are you thinking about those points? Do you make decisions behind the wheel based on the closeness of them? I know that when Kenny got around you, did you think about it then? And then when you got back around him, did that thought cross your mind then too?
I think going in tonight, it was already over. The championship, I think Kenny has it locked up. Just had one too many bad races this season, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, I guess. So I definitely was thinking about it, though, thinking, man, if I didn't have this bad week or that bad week, this would have been what I needed tonight. But it isn't what I needed. But it is what it is.
Well, Justin, you still had a heck of a season, and it's not over yet. Just like this race, you know what? Until that final checkered flag falls, you never know what's going to happen. You got a little bit of a break before we go racing again. Do you think, will you practice any between now and then, or are you just going to try to get away and then come back and be refreshed?
I'll just do what I always do, take the week off basically, and then show up for the race. And then that's my practice. I don't really want to sink a ton of time into it. Just try to keep this, kind of relaxed. It can be pretty tense battling for these wins and the championship, but don't try to take it too seriously, and that makes it really fun.
Well, great job tonight. Good points tonight. I know you've kind of conceded a little bit, but like I said, you never know what happens. And who would you like to give a shout out to here for a fantastic second place finish?
I'd like to thank my team, Toll Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for the awesome paint, Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring this awesome league, and Lowell for running it. He announced a new league that's going to be starting up soon, and really look forward to that. And thank you guys for doing the broadcast. You do a great job.
Well, thank you very much, Justin. Congratulations again on a great run. That is Justin Morton, our second place finisher tonight.
Justin Morton able to take advantage of craziness abound. James Lowe, top 3 run for him tonight, led many laps in this one. Lowe leading 38 laps to start off the night. James, I think everyone's questions, though, going towards what happened in the end. What was your perspective like when you're trying to battle it out for what was once the top 3 at the time with Justin Morton, and then chaos rings about in front, and then all of a sudden you're in third, again, passing Kibbe?
Yeah, I'd kind of checked up because from my cockpit, Dunhorse was sideways and kind of blocking the track there, so I checked up and should have kept my foot in, I guess. That was the play there, but all in all, not too bad of a night,
Absolutely. Starting off in the pole, what was that like in the opening stages where you seemed very untouchable early until the battle started to intensify mid-race?
Well, I decided in practice that I had a pace that I was going to run to, and I was just running that pace. So in my head, I felt like those guys were running way too hard when they went around me, but they just kept on running that way. So whatever they were doing, congrats to them, but I wasn't talented enough to figure that part out.
Well, Memorial Day weekend coming up. We've hit upon this with a few of the drivers, but the next time out, you go to Langley next. Opinions for Langley heading to the final stretch of the season before heading to Myrtle Beach to say goodbye to that track once more on the 11th.
Yeah, I really like Langley, but unfortunately I won't be here for it. Got some other stuff to take care of that weekend, so hope those guys have a good race.
Anybody you want to thank for your run tonight then?
Yeah, just like to thank my family for watching and tuning in, and my boy Chris Worrell for tuning in and watching us, see him in the chat there. And Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring, and Lowell for putting all this on, and you guys for broadcasting.
Congratulations on the podium finish here tonight, James.
Appreciate it.
That's James Rollo rounding up the top three. I'd like to thank him, Justin Morton, Matthew Thunhorse for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on BGN. Unofficially, the points differential between the top two, Kibbe 345, Morton 333. That's a 12-point difference. Lots to come into play for. As you said, John, anything could happen with a 12-point difference. It's not over until it's over. Of note, though, Thunhorst and Belke are tied unofficially for third with 309 points, but are out of mathematical range heading to the final races.
Yeah, and like I said, not over till it's over. We just watched a swing there with, 3 to go, and we kind of thought that they were going to probably finish where they were running at that point in time. So, these things are pretty unpredictable. Langley is definitely an unpredictable track. There's a lot of challenges there. It's easy to get yourself in trouble there. It's easy to get caught in somebody else's trouble there. So, Kenny's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to still have to bring it every night. It is still that close, but one mistake, either by Kenny or somebody else that catches him up, we got a points fight, to the end.
Again, next time the series hits the track in about a few weeks' time at Larry King Law's Langley Speedway, where legends are born. Be sure to see that action in a couple weeks' time. But first things first, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action here on VGN. I'd also like to take the time to thank Gargamel's Kitchen for their support of the BRL. For more information, give them a call at 720-707-6178 or visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street in Denver, Colorado. The next time, as mentioned, the series hits the track is after the Memorial Day weekend break. That's at Langley, June the 4th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Coverage will be going live. Be sure to buckle up and tune in to see how things fare out for the penultimate race of the season. The next time VGN will be live will be this Monday, 9:05 p.m. On May the 23rd, it's the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge, live from Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. Buckle up and tune in to see who can take the victory in Belgium. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For my co-announcer tonight, John Hine, for Trevor Greenfield, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Congratulations to your race winner tonight, Matthew Thunhorst. He picks up race win number 3 of the season at Martinsville. This has been a production of the Virtual Rep Network.